read through. All right, it's 6 p.m. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, please remember to turn on your microphones and turn off your cell phones, please. Andrea, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Quinlan.
Here.
Counselor Anderson.
Here.
Counselor Bain.
Here.
Counselor Baker.
Here.
Counselor Dykes.
Here. Okay, item 3A, approval of minutes of the regular meeting of July 10th of 2017. Are there any corrections? Okay, hearing none, they stand approved as submitted. 4A, any visitors or delegation? It's not on the agenda right now. Nope. Okay, let's move on. 5A, management. Public hearing from the brush meat processors. It's an application to rezone, re-subdivide, and vacate right-of-ways of the brush meat processors subdivision, amendment number 2, and amend special use permit. Okay, at this point in time, I'd like to open up the meeting to a public hearing. And I'm gonna have a staff report. Karen.
Good evening. My apologies in advance. This is a multifaceted application, so it's going to take a little bit to get through all the information. And some of you folks that were at Planning Commission have already heard some of this, so just bear with us. You have an application in front of you this evening from BM Processors LLC, and they are wanting to increase the size of their property from the current 12.381 acres to a total of 18.661 acres. As part of that increase in land area, they're asking to replat all of that land into one piece of ground, vacate right-of-ways and release easements within that new 6-acre portion, rezone that 6-acre portion so it matches the zoning on the remainder of their property, so everything would be zoned industrial. And then they also have a special use permit that was issued several years ago, and they're asking that that special use permit, all those terms and conditions apply to this new larger piece of ground. So over the years, council has seen this application on a couple of different occasions, starting in 2010, where you had the initial request to replat all this property, basically do all of these same things at that point in time to get BM Processors up and running. They, in pretty short order, determined that that initial 10 acres was not sufficient and came back within a year with a request to, at that time, increase the property from 10 to the 12.4 acres, which is their current configuration. So, as the council has seen similar applications previously, and then it was in April of 2013 when their animal harvest operations began, and they have been processing meat at that location ever since. So, in your staff report, you've got a variety of information. It addresses the comprehensive plan in terms of how that supports this particular application. And then also noted that to date, no citizen comments have been received in our offices related to any of these requests in front of you this evening. So when you look at the land area that's in question, we'll start with the subdivision. Like I said, you've got a piece of ground that is currently that 12 acres, 12 to 13 acres, and they have since purchased the balance of Rosewood subdivision. This entire area at one point in time was the Rosewood subdivision and has slowly been disappearing and being absorbed into this new industrial property. You may recall that Rosewood was originally platted with the idea of putting small single-family homes and lots in that location. And that was all zoned residential medium density at that time. So with those original plats, you did have right-of-ways that were in there. The roads were never constructed. The infrastructure associated with a lot of that was never completed at that point in time. So over, like I said, the past 7 years or so, you've seen this area changing with council's approvals to rezone that area to that industrial zone district, which then allows, with a special use permit, the animal harvest facility. The staff report also reviews the criteria for rezoning that property from that residential medium density to the industrial. And there is a detailed list in the land use code about all the criteria that need to be looked at as part of that. And every single one of those criteria are answered in the staff report and are found to, this request is found to meet those criteria. So what you have in front of you is a recommendation from the Planning Commission to vacate the right-of-ways and release the easements in the subject property, to replat everything into the new subdivision, which would be known as VM process or subdivision amendment number 2, and then also a recommendation from the Planning Commission to rezone this property, the new 6.3 acres from residential medium density to the industrial zone. So the next item for council to take a look at would be the special use permit. There were actually 2 reviews by city council for that, the first of which occurred in early 2011. And it was at that point, that's the initial special use permit that was granted. All those terms and conditions are documented in resolution number 2-11. And like I said, that's what really set out the foundation for all of the terms and conditions that they need to abide by as part of their operations. And then when they came back with the additional land area that they wanted to incorporate, there was a resolution number 11-11 at the end of 2011, where council agreed that all of those terms and conditions of the initial special use permit would be applied to that larger piece of ground. So now what you have in front of you is a similar request to what happened at the end of 2011, where with this property potentially being replatted into one larger parcel, BM processors would like all of those terms and conditions of the existing special use permit to now apply to their new larger piece of ground. In looking at the approval criteria for special use permit, there's 3 basic things that need to be looked at. The first criteria is one of compatibility. Council has previously found that this particular use with these particular terms and conditions would be compatible in that particular location. That they'd already successfully addressed potential traffic generation, noise, lighting, parking, and then general deleterious effects on adjacent uses and properties. The second point of criteria of approval is conformance with the comprehensive plan. This particular use of that location is consistent with what's recommended for that area. And then the third criteria is the applicant's history of zoning compliance within the city. And they have a strong history of complying with the requirements of the city. When Planning Commission had their conversation about the replatting and zoning, there was a small discussion related to some odors that have come from this facility, on occasion over the past 4 years during their operations. And while the Planning Commission did not have any authority to specifically address or make recommendations, I thought it was important to just note that that was a point of concern and fully expected it to be an item that council would want to discuss here this evening. So in your staff report, just make note of that, and then looked at the existing resolutions that document all those conditions associated with how they are allowed to operate. And there are a couple of conditions within the special use permit that can be used to address odor as well as wastewater. Since one of the other future things that they're looking at doing would be to upgrade the existing on-site wastewater treatment system. So those conditions are listed at the end of that section. And staff is making the recommendation that council approve the special use permit to now apply to the entire new larger piece of ground that would be part of Rush Meat or BM processor subdivision amendment number 2, And the three conditions that staff identified was to, one, update the awful management plan that details storage and removal of animal byproducts. The second is to update their overall management plan, and that's the one that addresses the handling of solid waste generated by corral wash down. You're looking at, waste trough cleaning frequencies, solid stockpiling, disposal, runoff control, mosquito control, just a lot of those various types of, impacts that should be looked at and revised since they've been operating for 4 years. And then the third condition is, since they are wanting to expand their on-site wastewater treatment system, the recommendation is that they enter into an updated utilities agreement with the city of Rush. And it's that utility agreement that then sets out the terms and conditions related to any changes to the wastewater system on site. Questions?
No? Okay, thanks, Karen. Have a representative from BM Processors want to make a comment?
Sure. So, thanks for having us. Ace Ward, Fresh Meat Processors, I manage the plant over here, and we've decided, we thought we'd, this is exciting. Yeah, it's a little different. Well, what we're looking at is we're looking at increasing our size of our property a little bit. We've been here for 4 years, been operating good, the bison business is doing good, we're growing, we're getting bigger. I think when we started, I was looking back through the resolution, and I did the same thing, we talked about having 30 employees or somewhere in there. Right now, we're double that, we're 68 employees right now, so that's good, and we keep looking at ways to get bigger and change our future, so 4 years in to this plant being here, we kind of thought, okay, well, where are we gonna be in 5 years? Where are we gonna be in 10 years? So we started looking forward and seeing what we needed to do as a company. We do have another plant in Henderson. That plant, there's 3 parts to a meat business. That plant does the second 2 parts. We do the first part here. So the idea of this plant that we're proposing someday in the future, we're wanting to get the land bought up, and we're trying to get it all under one SUP right now. But the overall plan is to someday have the land available and be able to move the other 2 parts of the business out there. And it's not increasing what we're doing now, it's just adding parts to that. So as the number of animals we're running through this plant right now aren't gonna increase, Karen was telling me that, last week there was an odor discussion about that, but what creates the odor isn't gonna increase, we're not gonna increase that, we're just increasing downstream of that. So that, it won't get any bigger in that sense. Now, we'll talk a little bit about the odor, that I personally don't think there's much of an odor problem. I think there's been one or two, you've come once, I think you told us about, but when that happened, we knew exactly what happened, and it was, no one's 100%. We had a truck not show up when they were supposed to show up. The kids got sick, he didn't come, so we tried calling a backup one. Anyway, long story short, we know exactly what happens when there is an odor issue, and we can remedy that, and we're getting better at it every day, we're learning new ways to do stuff, we're always changing things to try to get better at that particular thing. But as an overall business, the way we operate, I don't think daily there's an odor issue, it's just when something happens, and we can remedy that situation and take care of that. We also are looking at increasing our wastewater treatment facility to accommodate the extra water we're gonna use on these, increasing the size of the facility. That will make it better as well. Just the size of it and being able to process more waste in a wastewater treatment plant will make everything better too. It works a lot better that way. I don't know what else I got. You guys have any questions for me?
I'd just like to say that my complaints that have come to me with the odor and stuff has gotten less. And I haven't heard anybody who's not appreciative for the added jobs and you guys being in the community. So I think if you're working on that, that's just another plus for Brush.
Good. Every time we do hear something, ultimately, you're making food, you're processing animals all day, you're making food, and it's for an end consumer, so we take that onto every part of the project we do, and when you hear something, it's not, you don't push it aside, it's, you have to put a corrective action in place to take care of every part of the business, and that being one of them. So every time we do hear something, you gotta fix something and change the way you're doing it, so, 'cause obviously it's not working.
One thing it showed in the application A says Rocky Mountain Natural Meats and then Brush Meat Processor. Are they a parent company to your company or how?
Yeah,
are-
Rocky Mountain Natural Meats is our parent company,
Oh,
so that's the
okay.
other business in Henderson, and it's all the same ownership.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you. Do we have any comments from the public? Okay, no comments. Council, any further questions or comments? Okay, none? Okay, then we are closing the public hearing. And then let's move on to action items, so I need a counselor to introduce the first reading of ordinance 859-17.
I'll introduce on first reading ordinance number 859-17, an ordinance vacating streets and releasing utility easements in a portion of Rosewood subdivision and releasing a utility easement in Fresh Meat Processors. Subdivision amendment number 1 of the city of Brush, Colorado.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve on first reading and publish in full?
I make a motion.
Do I-
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Quinlan,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Bain,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Dykes.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item 5A2. Approve BM Processors subdivision amendment number 2 plat.
Ms. Quinlan, can I interrupt a second?
Yes.
I think before we get to these ordinances, we need to take action on the application that's been submitted and approve, modify, or deny that application. And then we can go on to the ordinances. The normal process is there's a determination by council on these zoning and requests of similar type to deal with the application, then get to the underlying ordinances and resolutions. The normal process is for a resolution to be drafted and presented to the council at a later date, which would be the council's final action on the application and would include the conditions that have been suggested by staff.
So we could take care of management items 3 and 4 and hold off on 2, is that what you're saying?
Or jump to 4.
Because 3 and 4 would deal with
Application.
Well, number 2 is to approve it, but that's just the subdivision. And I think what we need to do is to approve the entire application and then get to the underlying action items that the council has on the agenda tonight. That would be the ordinance we just dealt with for introduction and first reading. The second ordinance, approve the subdivision and then approve the special use permit.
I just wanted to make a suggestion that, definitely the special use permit be dealt with at the end, but deal with the land itself first, which is the subdivision plat, the right-of-way vacation, and the rezoning.
Cause that's already been through planning commission at this point, and so
Right.
this is the
Yeah,
next step.
so-
He just wants to do the whole application and then each document.
That's my suggestion,
well, which
yeah.
management
So
issue
we would
is that
add.
on our?
So-
It's
so-
not on the agenda.
So it's
No.
nothing on here.
Okay.
It's something that we would just say that we're
It's
approving.
The application.
Am I going sideways on this?
Well, I'm not comfortable with you throwing the soup into that. Deal with the land first, and then the
All right.
soup separate.
Okay, all right then. That's fine with me.
Okay. So let's
So
go
could
ahead.
I
So
make-
we're dealing with, what Karen is suggesting is that we approve the application from BM Processors LLC as to items 1, 2, and 3, and then adopt those particular documents. And then 4, approve the special use permit as amended, as proposed to be amended, for the inclusion of additional lands. Okay.
So continue just as outlined.
No, I still think you need to do something with the application, because we're adopting underlying documents before we've taken any action on the application.
Approve
So
the
it'd be a
application.
motion to approve the application of brush meat processors to
Okay.
rezone, re-subdivide, and vacate the right
So
of way.
item A, I mean,
Yeah,
basically.
Except for leave the special use off, cause we'll cover
Okay.
that later.
Okay, so,
Do you want us to withdraw the motion and the
No,
second that we?
the introducing an ordinance on first reading is not adopting it. It's simply introduced.
That's what I thought.
And so we haven't gotten ahead of ourselves in that respect, but I think we ought to backtrack at this point and have approval of the application as to the 3 land use items that
okay.
Karen is
So
suggesting.
let's
Okay,
go
I'll-
to item 5A. Do I have a motion to approve the application to rezone?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the application with the first 3 land use items.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Quinlan.
Yes.
Counselor Anderson.
Yes.
Counselor Bain.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Counselor Dykes.
Yes.
Okay. Item 2, approve BM processor subdivision amendment number 2 plat. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve BM Processor Subdivision Amendment to Plat.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Anderson.
Yes.
Counselor Bain.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Counselor Dykes.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Quinlan.
Yes. Okay, on to item number 3. I need a counselor to introduce this ordinance.
I would like to introduce first reading of ordinance number 858-17, an ordinance rezoning certain lands in the city of Brush located in BM Processor subdivision. Amendment number 2 being a replat of BM Processor subdivision, amendment number 1, and a portion of Rosewood subdivision, Warren County, Colorado.
Okay, need a motion to approve on first reading and publish in full.
I move that we approve on first reading and publish in full, ordinance number 858-17.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Any further discussion? None? Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Bain.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Counselor Dykes.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Quinlan.
Yes.
Counselor Anderson.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 4, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the special use permit for BM processors with the 3 conditions that staff recommended.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Counselor Dykes.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Quinlan.
Yes.
Counselor Anderson.
Yes.
Counselor Bain.
Yes.
Okay. On to number 5, management. Oh, sorry.
Sure, I just wanted to note that with that special use permit, you will have a resolution in front of you at your next meeting on documenting the title approval.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. 5B, second final reading of ordinance 856-17. I need a motion to adopt the ordinance on second reading and publish by title only.
Again, Vicky, what did you just say?
5B,
And you want,
I need a motion to adopt the ordinance.
I move that we
In-
adopt the ordinance 5B, second and final reading of ordinance number 856-17, an ordinance amending chapter 4 of the Brush Municipal Code, increasing the rate of the city sales and use taxes from 3 6/10% to 4%, effective on January 1st, 2015.
Second.
Effective on January 1st, what year?
2015.
Yeah, just a housekeeping item.
It's our housekeeping item to update our.
This
municipal
was,
code.
this
That
was
was
approved
voted
by the voters in the election of November 2014, effective January 1, 2015. The sales tax has been collected at that rate, and we neglected to go back and amend the code to say that.
Mhm.
And that's why we have a January 1, 2015 date, which was the date that the voter-approved action became effective.
So it's not a new tax.
No,
It's
it's not a
not.
new tax.
Wow.
It's old.
Do you need to add anything else, Andrea?
No.
Okay, I had a motion and a second. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Counselor Dykes?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Quinlan?
Yes.
Counselor Anderson?
Yes.
Counselor Bain?
Yes.
Counselor Baker?
Yes.
Okay, 5C. I need a counselor to introduce this ordinance.
To introduce first reading of ordinance number 857-17, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Brush, Colorado concerning appointment of a hearing officer to serve as the liquor licensing authority for the city and establishing optional premise license authority and standards.
Okay, Andrea, do you need to add anything, information? or-
No, just a little background. This is to take the liquor licensing authority, having council designate that authority to the Brush municipal judge in this case.
No, it's not a municipal judge in the ordinance.
It's a hearing officer.
It's a hearing officer,
Okay,
yes.
Thank you. Because it could be someone else.
It could be somebody else, yes,
Correct.
exactly.
And then also establishing an optional premise license authority and standards for the city of Brush in the event that we have the optional premise in our city limits, which we expect to with the golf course. So,
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve on first reading and publish in full?
I make a motion to first reading on ordinance number 857-17, in full, publish in full.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Any further discussion? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Quinlan?
Yes.
Counselor Anderson?
No.
Counselor Bain?
Yes.
Counselor Baker?
Yes,
Counselor Dykes?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to 5D. Resolution number 2017-6, participate in a coordinated election. Andrea?
Yes, this is just our standard agreement with Morgan County Clerk and Recorder, who will conduct or run our election, and we will be participating in it. We do have at this time our mayor position and 3 counselors that we will have on our ballot, and if we decide to have ballot questions, that would be in addition to that. But this is just the agreement with the county to participate, and naming me as the designated election official.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2017-6 to participate in the coordinated election.
Second.
Okay, moved in second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, let's vote.
Counselor Anderson?
Yes.
Counselor Bain?
Yes.
Counselor Baker?
yes,
Counselor Dykes?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Quinlan?
Yes. Okay, on to item 5E. Resolution number 2017-7, officers for the hotel restaurant liquor license for the course at Pettus Park.
Okay.
Andrea?
In your packet is the resolution naming the city administrator, the finance director, and the community service director as the manager for the liquor license at the Course Cafe and Lounge. It is removing Mayor Schoenberger and Mayor Pro Tem Quinlan from that, and only having those officers serve for the city. And then the accompanying application that we will file with the county and the state, removing those officers. So we just ask for your consideration to approve that.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for resolution number 2017-7, a resolution designating officers of the city to represent the city on a liquor license for the Course Cafe.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Any discussion?
Just so I'm clear on this one, we're going to take the mayor and the council member off, and we're not planning on putting them on in the future, the staff as officers.
Correct.
Okay, let's roll call vote,
Okay.
please.
Counselor Bain,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Dykes,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Quinlan,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson.
No.
Okay. Item number 5F, award the bid for the golf course parking lot. Lance is not here. Who do we have?
And that item's been taken off. We got the bids back, but we're gonna relook at the bids, and I guess we got a bid. We look at that and see if we can bring the cost down a little bit there, then we'll bring it back to council.
Okay, so. Remove that one. Okay, on to item 6A, finance.
I make a motion that we approve disbursements and payroll from July 10th through 24th, 2017, totaling $480,184.65.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Any further discussion? Nope. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Dykes,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Quinlan,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson.
Yes.
Counselor Bain.
Yes.
Okay, on to staff reports. Anything from finance? Monty, no
Oh,
plans.
I do have one item from Joanne. Joanne wanted me to relay to you that the audit usually would be wrapping up at this point in time, but there was an extension filed and approved, and that was because during the audit process, the auditors realized that we had received, pretty extensive grant funding over the last year. And once you have more than $750,000 worth of federal funds come in, it requires what's called a single audit on that particular funding. And so the auditors are not going to be able to get to it till after the deadline to submit. So that's why they put in that extension. And so it will be coming to council, but the extension is for 60 days, and it'll be before that.
Okay, thanks. Police, Travis.
It was a pretty busy week for the police department. We had 640 calls. over the
Holy
last 2 weeks.
smokes.
We had 2 stolen cars in town. One was ours, one was recovered from the sheriff's office, and that stumbled on it, so, which was good. We assisted the sheriff's office, they had a guy pull a shotgun on an individual. We stopped him and recovered some methamphetamine. And then we executed a narcotics warrant in town with the SWAT team. Very professional, very well executed. Everybody was safe, and we have charged 2 individuals, and we'll be charging additional ones.
Good. Good job. Community development, Karen.
You know, I don't have anything new to report. I'd just like to make a note that some of our larger construction projects that you see in and around the community are making great progress. So it's just a good thing to see Brush growing and expanding, and all is going well with us.
Okay, thanks, Karen. Lance is not here. Utilities and Public Works, Dale.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to announce that our Elm Street and Emerson Street projects are now complete. These are some roadways that we had repaired. They were very well constructed, very happy with the product. And if you've not been down Elm Street lately, I highly encourage you to go down there and take a look at how well getting the new curb gutter sidewalk and paving that street has really spruced up that neighborhood. It looks very, very nice. I mean, it's a great addition to that neighborhood. Emerson Street was that section that was falling apart over by the Sunset Ball Field. That's been reconstructed. We had a lot of geotechnical work to figure out why it was failing, and we got all those issues corrected. And so it turned out to be a very nice street as well.
Dale, on that, what are they doing now? There's still some road work kind of at the intersection of.
That would be, that's public service right now, doing work on removing and upgrading a fire valve installation for their gas mains.
Okay.
And then as far as Mill Street goes, we've suspended the project until September. CDOT won't allow you to seed until after September because of the heat and the lack of precipitation. And if we're gonna suspend it, we have to wait till September to seed it anyway, then we're gonna wait for the cooler weather to put down the asphalt curb. And and raise the water valves. Right now, that lay-down machine that we put that curb in there would just scar up the existing nice-looking asphalt.
Yeah,
So we're
yeah.
waiting for the cooler weather to come in and put that down, and then we'll finish that project out. Downtown's moving along very nicely. All the pipe is in the ground, all the catch basins are made. We are looking at, we got some curb and gutter in, we're gonna be doing some sidewalk tomorrow. And so it's moving along very nicely. We're planning on paving August 8th and 9th currently at this time. So hopefully we should have this wrapped up very, very shortly. It's gonna be a great, great project for the downtown and the flooding that has occurred there in the past. I'm really happy with the way it's turning out. And finally, from the water side of things, our well filled, our water table's still very healthy. It's the highest it's been in the last 20 years, and it's stayed very steady over the last 3 years. So we're on track. Even with the hot weather and the lack of precipitation that we've been experiencing, it still remains in very good shape.
Good news.
Dale, on that, going back over there by the junior high,
Yes.
how long will that be blocked off when they go back to September?
It'll be sometime in September. We don't have a current date
Right.
for that, but it'll be a 2-day closure on that particular stretch.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Marketing, Tyler.
All right, a couple things tonight. The Pedal the Plains event, the Denver Post and one of the governor's offices are planning on a 3-day tour once again, as they've done since the governor has been in office in eastern Colorado. And this will be September 15th through 17th from Kersey to Keensburg, Keensburg to Brush, and Brush back to Kersey. And so they're gonna be rolling in roughly 1,200 riders, bicyclists, and a couple hundred of support team, including family and friends, coming into Brush that day. And so we've been doing a lot of preparation. We have a committee that we've established here with community members, as well as in partnership with the actual team that works full-time on this, and Riley Rocky is just alternating through the year. So preparations are going well on that. We're gonna start having a lot more information out in the community in, between now and then, so the community is aware that a lot of bicycles are gonna be coming through town. Hotels, of course, will be full. We're actually, expecting additional folks to come in who, as part of a homestay program, where they either want to stay in a hotel and there's either no room, or they want to do this route, which is stay with people in the community who have an open bed and a shower and restroom separate that they can utilize. So we're gonna be reaching out to the community to see who would be willing to open up their homes for that program as well. So we'll have that, of course, the hotels here, and of course Fort Morgan will fill up as well. And then we're gonna have campers in both the ball fields down at the VFW Memorial Park, and indoor camping over at the fairgrounds, and then RV camping just north of the fairgrounds there. So there's gonna be a lot of events happening that day, so it should be very, very exciting. We have good volunteers so far. We're probably gonna be reaching out more so to either individuals and community groups to see if they could come and volunteer their time to make those efforts go well and have all the support that we need. And then secondly, 2 days before that, the Northeast Corridor Business Expo is happening at the Wildlife Sanctuary in Keensburg. Last year was the inaugural event, and it's essentially highlighting all the economic development opportunities along I-76 out of Denver going to Northeast. And so the City of Brush participated last year in partnership with MCEDC, City of Fort Morgan, and Wiggins. This year, we're gonna be going in as well, and we look to highlight housing opportunities that are here, commercial opportunities, industrial opportunities, and all the different those properties and incentives that we have in place. We look forward to hopefully getting some good additional leads and activity from that.
Tyler, I got a question for you. What's the route that the bike route's gonna take into town and then out of town?
They're gonna be coming in on County Road R, and then coming up on Clayton Street. We're gonna block off that whole section there, and pulling right into, essentially, we're just north of the campground. And then when they leave, they're gonna be going up through Clayton Street, I think across Emerson, all the way over to Hospital Road, because GoCo's gonna be highlighting the skate park, since they help fund that as one of their stops that they have. I'm going north of Hospital Road to T or T5? T. and then
T's
24.
pavement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
T is 24.
Is the railroad gonna stop traffic for them when they're crossing those tracks, or is that hit and miss?
Oh, they'll
Bad,
stop,
bad
all right.
phrase.
Oh,
but-
yeah, they'll stop it. Guarantee it's gonna be stopped at some point.
Yeah, there's have to stop it,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
there's the Century Ride as well, where, those who are really determined, they can sign up for it beforehand. Anybody who's already signed up is eligible to do it, but when they leave the second day coming in the brush, they can go all the way 52, all the way to 14, over 71, and come back down again as a added challenge. And so, and then there's also a family fun ride happening that day, where, families, kids, they can all ride through town, and they're gonna stop at Petty's Park and have some events happening that day over there as well, some fun. So that's open to community members to be part of that, and that'll be part of the information going out.
That's exciting, the brush is
Nice.
on the list.
Yeah, that's good.
And I can't tell you how many times I've seen that in the paper.
We'll do.
Hundreds.
Thanks, Tyler. City Clerk, Andrea.
Just to highlight some of the activities on your calendar, tomorrow at 5:30, the Brush Chamber Customer Appreciation Barbecue at East Morgan County Library Park. Next Monday at 5:30, I'm holding a council candidate informational meeting here in council chambers at City Hall. So any council members are invited to come and share your experiences. August 14th, after the city council regular meeting, we're gonna hold a retreat for priority setting. And then August 22nd, Fort Morgan will be hosting the city and county meeting. So place that on your calendar and details will come at a later date. That's it.
Okay, a few updates. First one is, in regards to the golf course, council, you may remember that we said that around August timeframe is when we're gonna sit down and look at how it's doing financially and, just discuss it in more detail to see what direction we wanna go in the future with the golf course. So, we'll be looking at some dates sometime in August, and it might roll into first part of September, but we should be able to find a time the next 4 to 6 weeks to have that meeting take place. Also, Tyler is waiting this week, should get the response from the READY grant. The READY grant is a state grant for economic development purposes to help with infrastructure for industrial parks and businesses coming to communities, those type of things. And so we're hoping that we're gonna get some funding through the READY grant program in the state, to help develop the feedlot area, a little bit more. Also, coming up in the next 4 to 6 weeks is a hospital road discussion. One of the priorities that city council had given last year was to get to that point of making a decision on hospital road for a quiet zone. And the quiet zone, there's two options. One is, putting all the money into putting in the curbs, what do you call the barriers? The barriers down the center of the street, the medians. And then, on Hospital Road, across the tracks there, we need a little more separation from South Railway, and what that would do is require us to realign that road and take it further to the south. So that's an expensive option. The other option is to, close the crossing. And so that's, a previous work session, we talked about having a meeting just to get comments back from the public before we even considered that. One of the things that we did do was visit with the PUC and the railroad and to figure out, is there a way to temporarily close that crossing? And they said, no, once you close it, you close it. And so it's very difficult to get those reopened again. So that'll be an opportunity for the public to visit with council and give them their thoughts. Also, in regards to the planning retreat on the 14th, tomorrow our staff is gonna be starting to work on putting priorities together, our recommendation to council. And, if you have any thoughts, send them our way by 9 o'clock in the morning, cause we're gonna start the meeting. And we can include those in the discussions at the staff level, just so that we're aware of those. But remember, ultimately, it's the council that makes that decision on the priorities. And what we bring to you is what we feel is, a very doable list, that we can make good progress on some of those items and things that we've been working on, moving those forward, for the following years. So, the information that we give you is gonna be given to you probably a few days prior to the 14th, so you have time to review those things and be ready for the discussion on the 14th, which that council meeting, we're anticipating to do a very light council meeting, so we can do a short council meeting and roll right into a council retreat. One of the questions is would you like us to bring in a light meal, or would you guys like to do the potluck, which you guys have done in the past?
Why don't we have dinner brought in?
Amen.
Works for me.
All right, we'll coordinate a light dinner for that evening. And remember, it's gonna be a working, dinner, so once you get your meal, we're gonna keep talking just to keep everything moving along and try not keep you here too late in the evening. Last thing is, either on the 1st or the 7th, we're trying to work with the residents down on Elm Street for a little block party. That's a celebration that we do whenever we do a new street in town, put in new sidewalks, curb and gutter, and it's been a gravel road for a lot of years, forever. And so finally we have another new street in town. And it's one of the things that we committed to the public when we passed the ballot issue 2A in 2008, I believe it was. There was a list of some of the projects we wanted to get to. One of the bigger projects was the downtown area, which this should be the last year for significant or major construction down in the downtown area. And so that's taken 6 or 7 years to get us to that point. So we're pretty excited that's coming to a close. But Elm Street was next on the list, and this upcoming year what we anticipate doing is looking at some of those other streets that we've talked about during the ballot discussion 2008, so that we can start planning for those and probably do more of the engineering design work, cost estimates next year, and execute on 1 or 2 of those streets the following year. And with that, just real quickly, is that the 7th of August, are most council members available for a block party?
What day is that?
It should be a Monday.
It's a
I'm not
Monday.
gonna be there.
I won't be in town.
Okay.
I am the 1st, but not the 7th.
And the 1st is next week already?
Yeah, I could do the first too.
I can do the first.
Okay. We'll see what we can do with the residents down there. Okay? That's all I have.
Okay. Any council reports?
Monty, do you have any update on fire department building, where we're at as far as going out to bids?
Yes, the fire department building, one of the issues that we came across was, that with the new floodplain regulation, it actually helps us because that fire department building right now is in the 100-year floodplain. With the new maps that are coming in, it moves the line to the south. And so, which is good, but then the building that we're planning on building extends to the south and goes back into the 100-year floodplain. So that hurts because then you have to elevate the building 2 feet, which then you'll have half the building 2 feet higher than the other, the main part of the building. So we've been meeting with the fire department steering committee on the project, and we've determined that the building is at 1.1 feet above the floodplain to date, so that's a little bit of good news. But we're actually getting an engineer and surveyor to go out there and mark on the line, where is the line at? And so the fire department, they believe that we can just shift that part of the building to the north
And be out of
about
it.
20 feet and be out of it.
That'd be best.
But we have to be sure, so that's why we need
Yeah.
an engineer and a surveyor to go and determine exactly where that line is at, because the only maps that we have, when you look down there, that kind of goes at an angle of the line, and last thing we want to do is be 1 foot over that line and then have some issues. Most importantly, because we have over $700,000 worth of state
Right.
funds that are going to help build the building.
Right.
And we just don't want to jeopardize that. And so in visiting with some of the fire department officials, the district and the fire chief, we feel that it's probably best to still put it out to bid later this year, but after we figure out exactly where the floodplain lies and it's going to work, and but have a start date this next March. And that is so we avoid the winter months, because we're gonna have to find a place for all that equipment, and it's easier to find storage areas that are unheated versus finding heated storage areas, there's not enough out there.
So what's that do to the cost of things going up? Or we're gonna end up being short in the spring and
Well,
another dilemma?
what it does do for us, it gives us one more year to raise that much more in the sales tax. The sales tax that we just approved, that's where that money's going, is into that fund, so it helps us out, but it also gives the rural district a little extra funding to go forward as well. But the other thing is, we were approved the award, but we still haven't got the contract yet, so we can't do anything at this point anyways. And so when I talked to Greg Edel, he had explained that Greg Edel is our DOLA rep, and he explained, because we were checking to see where that contract was at, and he explained that he can't tell us when we're gonna get that contract, but you can't spend a penny before you get that contract in hand, and so we still have to see, we have to have it all executed before we can move forward anyways. So that's why we made that decision, just said, well, we can't move forward, it's getting so close to the winter months, that's better just to roll it. Still go through the bid process, but then have a start date of March.
Okay.
I still have, were you finished? I still have, they're gonna be reporting on CML until next CML, it seems like, but there are 4 quick ones from Unicourt. So, I'll blast through these, then we can start the work session. But, Bo, while you're here, there is some good news for municipal court. House Bill 1316 delayed last year's House Bill of 1309, the right to an attorney in municipal court until July 1st of next year, because it's a mandated that we have to have time to have our ducks in order, and the state is going to find funding.
Yes, it was an unfunded mandate.
Unfunded
Exactly.
Yes.
So I thought we'd all be
And
happy to hear that.
Under the infamous Tabor Amendment, you know, you can go back to the state and say fund it or we don't do it.
So I guess they felt that arm twist, and so we have until July 1st of next year. 2 that are related, House Bill 1204 and 1208. 1204 is juvenile record expungement and just notice requirements and other provisions. And 208, record sealing and a $65 fee is added. And the last one, House Bill 1162, driving under restraint, makes it a new crime if your license was suspended and you get caught, and it creates a Class A infraction at which your license is yanked at 12 points. And that's all for Muni Court.
Yeah, that's a state charge, that doesn't go through the municipal court. At least it hasn't in the past, and I don't know that it would in the future under that amendment.
You know, I don't know if how we deal with, I think they're dealt with in county court here, is that the deal?
Yes.
So, but anyway, that's the new, for everybody to be aware, there is a new state law that if you get caught, it's even more severe while you were driving under a suspended license. Thanks.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Be ready in 1 minute.
Okay.
Hey, Chief, look at that.